Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. This week we are building out a van, mobile office. Cool project. Let's get right into it. All right, so this is part one of a two-part series on this van build. The second part will be countertops and painting and then final assembly. But this is a work van or a mobile office. So this is for a builder that I've been working for years. Right now, his office is outside of town, so he's constantly going on meetings, going to job sites, running back to his office and back and forth all day. Having a mobile office like this is going to give him the ability to be on site more and get things done at the same time. So that's what we're going for. This is a Ford Transit, high roof, 350. It's a 1-ton van, dually. This thing can hold a ton of weight, so we're not really too concerned about the weight. And yeah, to be honest, when we first met and went over this whole thing and the layout, I was really concerned that it was going to feel super crammed and tight. And even on camera, it might look like it is, but it actually feels pretty good in here. Super cool project. So let's get right into it. All right, so getting right into this thing, he did leave a row of seats. So we're starting behind the row of seats with like an L-shaped desk. And this first corner was really what kind of was not the most difficult part. Not that it was super difficult, but we had the most things to think about in this corner. We had to make these angled pieces to kind of fit behind the seats well. And then this is where a lot of the electrical stuff is going to fit. So what we had originally talked about and planned for, I ended up kind of changing things as I started building it, just because it just made more sense. So you can see here I've got that angled piece. I'm just fitting it, making sure it looks good behind those seats and that it's going to fit there nicely. And then I'm using that same piece here to trace it onto another piece and cut the other piece to size. So having the bandsaw, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, the bandsaw is something that we just recently kind of set up in a permanent home, which has been super nice because having the bandsaw to be able to just walk up and use has been awesome. So we used to kind of have it just tucked in the corner where I would only pull it out if I needed it. So it barely got used, but it's getting used a lot more now. So there you can see I just like traced that piece, used the bandsaw to cut it, and then I flush trimmed it to that other part. Okay, so these metal brackets that are there are for a lift up desk. So there's not going to be the builder that this is getting built for. He does not sit at the desk. He uses this stand-up desk. So when he's driving the vehicle, the desk will be all the way down, and then when he gets to a spot and parks and he's at his desk, it'll lift up with these electric desk lifts, I guess you call them, and he'll stand at the desk. There's not going to be like a stool there or anything. So I'm making these sleeves for those brackets to fit into, and then you could see before I drilled those holes in that piece of poplar, that's going into the bottom, and so that will get bolted to that actual mechanism that lifts the desk. So you can see this slides right down in there, and we're good to go. Okay, so now I'm taking one of those sides and I'm cutting this notch in it. There's a subwoofer that he's adding in here that's going to sit. You can kind of see it. It's all black there behind the seat. And this notch is just to fit around that subwoofer. And there's the battery, which is another thing we have to fit in there. And here is the inverter. So I was thinking, okay, we can mount the inverter here, and then I kind of change things up a little bit, and you'll see that side panel is going to go all the way up against the wall. this is one of those things where talking about it and standing there and just trying to think through things and drawing it out in your head, and then once you start building parts and putting things in place, you start to modify some things to make it make more sense. So yeah, here's our sides. I'm using the Lamello Clamex to connect a MDF top there. And then I'm putting a back on this just at an angle to kind of hold all this stuff together. And then we're doing a notch in that top piece of MDF to accept the bracket when it comes all the way down. And there's going to be a butcher block top on this, and so the top is going to come right down and sit on top of that MDF. So that notch that I just cut in the MDF it'll make more sense right here. It'll go all the way down, and the top will just kind of sit on top of that MDF. So next is just another box. We're kind of making the turn in the van, and we're going to, in this cabinet, he has these plastic containers and he keeps some of his office supplies in there. So that right there, we built to fit around the battery. And then that box I was just putting together, you'll see in a second, will sit on top of that. And he has all these plastic containers that we built this to fit those. So it'll house about 4 of those. And then I'm taking my multi-tool and we're just cutting these cup holders that are back there that kind of, you can see they're sticking out. And obviously we're not going to be using those. So this just allows us to push the cabinets another 1.5 to 2 inches back. So now that I have this cabinet together, I'm cutting a notch in the back of this thing to accept the other lift mechanism for the desktop. I threw a little jig together so I could route this in nice and clean. Not that you're ever really going to see this thing too much, but I wanted it to look good. You know, I wanted that thing to fit in there really nice. So we cut the tops and bottoms of that and route them out. And then there you can see that sleeve. I had to make another sleeve in that piece of poplar, and the bottom gets these bolts that kind of secure that thing in there. And then that just slides right in there. We pocket screwed it from the bottom. If you saw those pocket screw slots, and then that thing's in there nice and secure. So here I'm just assembling another cabinet box, and that cabinet box right there is actually going to accept a toolbox type thing that he got for this that has a bunch of drawers in it. This is kind of the in-between cabinet right there that goes over and around the wheel well. And then the box going in right now is the box that will accept the toolbox. And then so in the back, we have another cabinet there, and that will open from the back door, giving us more storage space in the back. So then on the right side, we're not going to have full depth cabinets. These are only about 14 inches wide. You can see we had that water tank under there that he got that fits around the wheel well, and we built a cabinet to go around that. And then this next cabinet going in fits this fridge, and so I made it to fit the fridge tight. And then when I went to go put the fridge in, I realized there was a couple screw heads that were sticking out, so I had to take those side panels out, and I just cut a few dados in it so I didn't have to remake the whole cabinet. And those dados are just going to allow those screw heads to slide through there without like stopping the whole fridge cabinet from going in. So here you can see those grooves in there, and then the fridge fits in there nicely. We're really trying to make use of like every inch we had in this thing. So then here I'm assembling another cabinet that's going to go on the right side, and it'll be just like the left side where it's accessible from the back door. And that left side of this cabinet has an MDF panel because that's going to get painted. So I didn't want to put any screw heads or anything like that in there. So we're using Lamello tensos and glue to attach those pieces. And then on the other side, they just get screwed in because obviously you're never going to see them. And that's just a piece of pre-finished plywood. Speaking of Lamello, if you need a Lamello or you're interested in one, hit me up. Ask questions, whatever you need. I can hook you up with a rep directly through Lamello. They can take care of all your ordering, all that kind of stuff, and they'll hook you up. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. I'm happy to help and happy to answer. The Lamello is an incredible machine, and it will literally change the way you do things in your shop. So then all the boxes were basically done, and I started cutting pieces of MDF to fit around everything. So these pieces here are going to go around the water tank and that whole cabinet there. Everything kind of gets a round over. It's all 3/4 MDF. I'm not way too concerned about weight with this thing. It is a 1-ton van. We are adding weight, obviously, but it's not like a ridiculous amount. I mean, this van can hold a ton of weight, so the 3/4 MDF that's just what we're going with. Everything's going to look really nice once it's painted, and everything is being assembled in a way that I can take it out easy enough because, like I said, everything still needs to be painted. So I need to take all this stuff back out to paint it, obviously. You see that Bessie clamp I'm using right there. Bessie hooked us up with some clamps for this build, and those squeezy clamps they have right now are awesome. The handle actually swivels all around, so it's really good for getting into tight spaces and stuff like that. And you can really crank down on those things. And I'm just continuing to cut MDF for doors and fillers and stuff like that. Really trying to be more health conscious, wearing a mask in the shop, especially with this MDF. I mean, you can see on the camera the dust just gets everywhere. Really not trying to breathe that stuff in. One of my things for the new year in my shop, I really want to get dust collection better at all my machines and really limit the amount of fine dust. I mean, when you're doing this stuff every day, it really does affect your health. So I'm really trying to be better about that sort of thing. And so as everything kind of gets wrapped here with this MDF, it's really starting to come together and look nice. I was pretty concerned, not concerned, but I just thought everything was going to feel way tighter in here than I thought. But it actually feels pretty comfortable standing in there. As far as space, you don't feel super crammed. I mean, for what it is, I think this is turning out really pretty cool. So you got the microwave in there nice and tight. Everything is looking good. Putting an 1/8" round over on everything. And so then just continuing to move around. These are some more fillers and trim pieces for the other side where the actual lift up desktop will be. And the Lamello Clamex are perfect for this kind of stuff where you want to be able to take it back apart, like I said, to paint and stuff. Really, these just make it quick and easy assembly. So that piece goes in. I don't know what happened with my camera there. Hanging some doors. Getting everything adjusted. You can see I got towels over the MDF. I was fighting the rain kind of all week. In between my garage door and the van, water dripping in and everything. And that's really it for this part 1 of the build. You can see everything's coming through together pretty nice and looking good. All right, so then just a quick walkthrough of the van. See, we got storage in the back, accessible when the back door is open on both sides. This thing is really feeling pretty good. Come in, you got the fridge, we got the sink there. We're going to drill a hole right there. And then there is a drain that's going to go directly down. There's no trap or anything. And it goes right out the floor. He's only going to be like washing his hands in here. So it's not like we have nasty black water or anything coming out of this thing. Right there, we've got a toolbox that he has that will fit right in there with a bunch of drawers. Got more storage here. There is a wheel well under there in that lower section. And then over here, we've got the microwave. The water tank obviously is under there. We've got more storage in these cabinets here. And then on the other side is where the lift up desk will be. You can see our two brackets there. And then he has these containers. Those cabinets were custom sized to fit these containers that he has. Battery will go under there. And that's really it, guys. The van is looking pretty good. All his electrical stuff is under there. We're going to put another back on there just to kind of close up that hole. But yeah, stoked with how this thing is turning out so far. We are going to route those cables into the bottom of the butcher block countertop so everything just fits seamlessly. And yeah, happy with this thing. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the comments below. Patreon link is below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be out next week. Peace.